Okay, so we're live, so don't say anything incriminating. Right, okay guys, so hopefully there's a few people tuning in. Welcome to the Golem Gates AMA stream. We're here with the dev team. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, take it away.
Sure, I'm Josh Mizzy. I did a lot of the artwork, art direction, and produced a lot of the art in the game.
I'm Matt Wolfie. I was the programmer and designer for the game. I did half the code and all the console ports, and designed a lot of the core game mechanics.
Dalvin Kane. I designed the single player levels, and I did all the sound effects and soundtrack.
Awesome, thank you very much, guys. So we got a few questions already lined up from people that have sent them in on Discord. For those tuning in, I'm not sure if you know, but we did have a big giveaway we were going to be doing. But unfortunately, you guys did not hit the target for the giveaway. You were a little bit off. But as a consolation, if there's any really good questions today, we will potentially be giving some keys out. So do make sure to send in questions via Twitch chat, or you can DM me on Discord, though I would much rather you do it in Twitch chat if possible. But yeah, to get us started off with some of the previously sent in questions, we got a question from Jane the Silent from our Discord, which is asking, when did you first think of the concept for the game, and kind of what inspired Golem Gates?
Well, from the gameplay point of view, a bunch of years ago, I kind of had the idea of doing a card-based something. I wasn't sure what kind of game it was going to be at the time. So, and I talked to Rob, who's not here, but who also did a lot of the programming for the game. And we eventually came up with the idea of doing a strategy game with it. And it was kind of meant to be like, how can we make something like, like the StarCrafts a little bit more accessible, a little easier to play, use the cards to make it easier to get into, to take out some of the annoyances, some of the build order stuff that you have to do at the beginning of the game that would frustrate people. Josh, you want to talk about the art?
Yeah, so when I was introduced to Matt, actually through Rob, we talked about, Rob had said that they have this game they're working on, and looking for someone to kind of come in and do the art and direction and do the story and stuff. And so they showed me the game, and it was really fun. I mean, it just had like temp art and stuff, but I could see kind of the where the game was going, and just lots of like possibilities for cool units and spells and like all this stuff. And so I was interested just from the start, even though it was really ugly. Like it was fun from the beginning. So visually, inspiration kind of came from, at the time, we had all kind of been playing Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and we looked at other RTS games that were out there and other kind of top-down things, and a lot of them were going more towards really kind of stylized, cartoony kind of looks, and we felt that there was a space to go darker, that there was an audience that could appreciate, this kind of, darker fantasy sci-fi thing. It was something we had interest in, and so that's kind of the high level of kind of how we decided to go that way. I think another big part of that decision was how much the fog of war plays into the gameplay, and kind of thinking of a story element of what that fog of war could be, like actually that it's not just like a gameplay thing, but it's actually part of the world, because it would be something that's on the screen like all the time. So like why is it there? What's the purpose for it? What's the history of it? And so then from that level, we kind of broke down, what that story could be in the specifics of, units and looks and all that stuff.
Awesome. It's actually quite a good follow-on question from that, actually, from the Koosh Moose, which is an interesting username. But what games influenced the design the most of Golem Gates? Were there any particular CCGs or action and adventure games?
So, like I said, to some extent, StarCraft was a little bit of like, it's not. It's still too harsh to say what not to do, but sort of like how can we nudge it away from that, but still be some of the similar spirit. I liked the unlocking system in Guild Wars 1, and this game that probably nobody knows about called Concept, and where you just get new options as you play the game. And since there's so many free to play games now, just like being able to go back to you just play the game and you get stuff, and it's not like some scam mechanic to try to get you to buy things after you've played all the content, you will have all the things. That was a big deal.
You guys have played Hearthstone a bunch too, right? At the time.
Yeah, but I guess from like getting a shorter game time down. I mean, that was also something like we didn't want to have 30, 45-minute games very often. I mean, it can happen sometimes if you play 2 versus 2, but most of the time we want the games to be in that 10, 15, 20-minute space. We actually took a bunch of stuff from Heroes of the Storm, like the monster camp, boss camp mechanic we used in a few levels. That ended up being a great tiebreaker mechanic. When levels are getting deadlocked, if someone gets the boss guy, and then it becomes yours, and you can put your own glyphs on him to buff him and things like that, and then you can use it to break enemy space.
Yeah, I remember when we were first talking about the game, and Rob was mentioning the Hearthstone thing, and with just the ideas of these kind of rock paper scissors interactions that have you can make your deck, but then also there is an element of randomness to it. It was really, really cool. And from a visual point of view, being able to design, these different characters and abilities that one trumps the other, and how you communicate that visually from that point of view. I thought it was really a fun kind of challenge.
Okay, cool. They've also asked kind of which side of the game, kind of the hybrid genre of the game, do you consider to be the primary one?
I mean, I never really thought about it as a primary or secondary. I mean, at the end of the day, you're playing the game. The interaction with the game is as a strategy, but we went out of our way to simplify. For example, when you summon units, you don't control the units individually. You control them as a squad because we didn't want to have as much unit micromanagement. So the fact that you can use your glyphs in the middle of battle makes them very equal in standing. You can send your units into what turns out to be a bad situation and turn it around through the use of the glyphs. So I never really thought of it as one is better than the other. They're meant to be complementary.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Frisky Donuts from Discord, who actually I think he just showed up in the stream chat. He's asked quite a brutal question. What was the good part of the question is what was the best feedback you've ever received about Golem Gates, but also what was the worst feedback you've ever received?
Well,
you can feel free to skip that one if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer. It's because the game came out on PC, and I think we heard from a number of people just this game's amazing. Why isn't anybody playing it? And that's kind of like a double-edged sword thing, right? It's it's great, but also horrible. So yeah, I guess that for me that would probably be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's I guess a lot of people commented on positively on single player content, and so unfortunately we didn't get as many multiplayer players on PC. So it was kind of like Josh said. It could be good, but I wouldn't know because unless I play with my friends, I'm not going to find out.
Which is weird because Matt did amazing bots for the game. I have to say, the AI is really good. So it's there's plenty of stuff to do, and all the challenges and all.
Yeah, but So I guess it's sort of a single multiplayer thing, but hopefully in the console release, we'll have the players to get that all positive.
Awesome.
Okay, I got another answer. May I? Okay, so another awesome feedback was one article we had from Kotaku, and he was basically saying the voice acting, which was done by our for Dalvin King here. You say he loves to play before he goes to bed because it's like ASMR for him. It's like the voice. It's so awesome. Like
the character whispers, the whispering voice. The character, it's me. The guy that's whispering.
Yeah, that's some A+ sounds manipulation.
Yeah, it's cool, but it is.
Talk about her to sleep.
It feeds his soul.
Yes.
That's what he's saying. It's like a prayer before bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably doesn't help you sleep better at night, knowing he sleeps better to your soothing voice.
Hey man, he likes playing it, so whatever. Yeah.
As well from Frisky Donuts, he was wondering, does the Switch version support any unique features, kind of touchscreen, the HD rumble, gyro features?
You can use the touchscreen to play the game in handheld mode. It's since you only have one finger, it's a little simplified on the mouse controls. You'll probably still want to like press buttons occasionally, but you can like select units and move them around using touch controls. We didn't do support for rumble or anything like that, but certainly when you're playing it in handheld, it's an extra dimension of the control, make it a little bit more precise.
It's cool. It's pretty sweet. Like seeing the game working on that little device and being able to play multiplayer. That's very cool.
Yeah, man, the Switch is insane. To be fair, it can handle stuff so well. Okay, let's have a look. And Frisky Donuts has actually just said in the Twitch chat, thank you so much for answering my questions, and he's really looking forward to the game. So
cool, thanks. Hope you enjoy.
Donuts actually.
Yeah, his Twitch. I only know because he's a frequent kind of community member, but his Twitch name is actually Super Dry Nuts. So to go along with his Frisky Donuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Meekle from Discord has asked, how do you earn/collect cards in the game? And is it going to be a pay-to-win game and have microtransactions, or is it just you buy the game and you've got everything?
It's my favorite question. There's no microtransactions at all. When you play most single-player based content, campaign trials, you get specific set glyphs as rewards. You also get a certain amount of in-game currency that you can use to buy from a selection of things, and then if you play multiplayer-based modes or survival, you just get random drops. But it's very heavily biased towards unique things. It's set up so that after you've beaten all of the content in the game, or if you just played it a lot on the same content, if that's your preference, you'll eventually get everything. It's not meant to be grind for 100 hours. There are cosmetic upgrades on some characters, like some funny alternate skins and stuff. That stuff does require a little bit more grinding because it's not gameplay affecting. It's meant for hey, I'm having so much fun in this game and now I can get some cool stuff for the lifetime. But in terms of the gameplay affecting stuff, your standard 20 to 30 hour playtime will get it all.
Okay, nice.
And there's a cool reward screen where you have all the glyphs and these things, and you can click on them, they all explode.
I think we showed it on one of the trailers.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, I missed one of his questions as well. Are you going to be doing any future kind of glyph and deck releases or rebalancing, or is it kind of you're happy with it as it is?
Well, so we had time on the PC to do balancing, so things could still come up depending on what happens to the community. I will definitely do updates if it's necessary. As far as expansion content, it just comes down to whether we get players or not. If we get enough players, enough purchases, then I'd love to do more content. I'm more of a full expansion type of preference. I don't really like doing the, $2 for 5 more things like that some games do a lot. I'd rather do the old schools, you pay $20 and you get, more of everything. But whether or not we have the resources to do that, it's just going to come down to how well the game does.
Cool. Yeah, no, I definitely much prefer the old school way of doing things than the new kind of mini expansion packs that keep happening, unfortunately.
I hope it happens though, because there's more stories to tell in that world. Yeah, it's really cool.
So I'll actually tag on another question there. This is actually from me personally. If you could explain the lore in kind of the explain like I'm 5 style, how would you go about it in as short a time as possible? And I believe, Josh, you're the man for this.
Okay. All right. So I don't want to give away too much story. So a lot of it unfolds, obviously, in the campaign. So you find out a lot about the history behind why the world is the way it is. Currently, it's far in the future on Earth. There is this floating fog everywhere called ash, which is actually nanotech particles. And they are a result of wars in the past and scientific experiments and things. And you find out about that. You are a character called the Harbinger, and you have this unique ability to control the ash, to control the robots in this fog everywhere, to create things, to create war machines or techs or whatever. So it's a technology-based fantasy, but as far as where the ash originated, where you originated, how it relates to the enemy folds in the campaign. Is that too general?
No, that's about what. That's probably a bit more than the 5-year-old target, but I think it's a pretty brief summary. So and obviously we don't want to spoil anything, so you can't go into too much anyway. No, that's cool, man.
Doesn't sound super convincing.
Sorry.
5-year-olds are confused.
Yeah, they're all sat there scratching their heads. Okay, who have we got next? So Rough Salt has asked, were there any challenges taking a strategy game typically associated with PC and releasing it on the console? And if there were, how did you overcome them?
Well, the biggest thing is doing controls. I think that our game style has a little bit of an advantage there in that because you play the Glyphs where you have units already, you don't have to do as much moving around with the camera that you do like you'd have to in this traditional strategy game. You don't have to go move it back to your base. You don't have to hotkey base buttons or anything like that. You can just pick from what you have. And so the main thing was coming up with a decent targeting scheme where when you select units or whatever, the system will put it someplace that will work for you right away. And obviously you can move the camera or you can use the right stick to move the cursor around so you can put some, if you want to put it someplace else. But that way, if you're just like, you're in combat and you're like, oh, I need some more guys, you just pick the guys and you just press the button and then there's guys there. You don't have to micromanage where they go. They'll automatically understand their orders from guys that are nearby them. If it's a healer, it'll go heal the guys that are there. If it's offensive guys, they'll go jump in and support, so you don't have to do that micromanaging. So that's mostly how we get it. There's certainly, if you go in the controls menu in the game, there's a bunch of like advanced stuff to move the camera around still if you want to do that. But the hope is that most of the time you can follow 1 or 2 armies around and you don't really have to do anything much beyond that controls wise.
Were there as an additional question, were there kind of any graphic changes you had to make, or was it just optimization stuff?
Well, it was mostly just optimization, but a lot of optimization.
Yeah.
You really don't these days, especially CPU wise. You don't really realize what you're doing on PC because everyone's PC, even 10-year-old PCs have ridiculous CPU power and can do anything. So there was certainly a lot of stuff to be done in that on the various platforms. Graphically, it was a little better. Obviously, in Switch handheld mode, you have to make sacrifices, but our graphics stuff was generally pretty good from a performance standpoint. So it's just tweaking can we do this effect, or do we need to lower the resolution on this, or what resolution does the game play at? Like, only Xbox One X gets the full 4K because that's the only one that we could get to do it on. But PS4 Pro still is higher than PS4, and getting all that stuff together.
No, awesome, good stuff.
Yeah, just to add a little bit, if you don't mind, with the
of course.
With what he was talking about with the he did a really ingenious system, I have to say, because playing on the PC and it's easy to move the mouse around and do all that stuff, but I was very concerned because I play RTSs and playing on console and stuff. And they generally don't work well on consoles, but how he did the automatic placement or suggested placement is really cool, and it makes it feel intuitive. It doesn't feel like on certain apps, whatever, and you hit the autoplay button. It's nothing like that, but it's like giving a suggestion of like, okay, this makes sense, but then you can fine tune it if you want, put it obviously wherever you want, but using like I'm guessing you're using the same kind of AI that you had that the bots use.
It's based on the bot, yeah.
It's just I was quite impressed. So I think good job on that. It feels good. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, so it kind of it's more of like you still feel like you're doing it, even though you've got the assistance, rather than that kind of snap aim type stuff that consoles used to do when FPS games first started. If that's a good analogy for it. Stealthy Twitchy has just asked, are there any co-op possibilities in the game?
So the main campaign cannot be played in co-op. But there's a survival mode that can be played with a buddy. They can drop in and drop out at any time. So you can just have it started in progress and someone can find you. And you can also play the competitive multiplayer matches can be played with AI, up to 4 AI or human players in any team configuration you want. There's a menu so that you can set up 2 versus 2. You can set free for all. You can set up crazy stuff if you want.
There's lots of options for multiplayer stuff. Yeah.
Cool. This is a really cool question, actually. What are your personal favorite glyph choices within the game, both from the perspective of a player and when you were designing the concepts for them as well?
I'll start with Dalvin. He hasn't got the top.
Sorry, Dalvin.
I like the energy collector. Basically, when you place them down, they get buffed by any other tech glyphs that you place and use around them. Mm-hmm. And so if you time it right, you can place one of those down and then also drop a fireball or drop other glyphs, and they get buffed very quickly, and it's kind of fun. And if people try to use glyphs against them, they get buffed as well. And so you can kind of bait attacks with them to get buffs on them, and it's fun to punish someone in that way.
Cool.
My favorite was the counter spell trap that I put in. Basically, you place it after it's done building, it becomes invisible, and if someone targets basically a spell, which we usually call text, anywhere in its area of effect, then there's this big sparkly effect, and it just doesn't work. Which Josh did a great job on that effect. It's like very obvious to everybody how you just got beat. So it's pretty fun to do that. I've always been a big fan, like even playing like paper CCGs like Magic, like being doing the counterspell lockdown stuff. So it was good to get that kind of effect in the game. There's a couple other similar effects in the game that you can do.
Matt likes all the stuff that's like the ultimate troll stuff. I would say my favorite is probably called Destroyer, and he's really good at destroying buildings. But like I always love to just like totally buff up my units, and so he's a big guy normally, but like make him giant size and like put all the stuff, healing on him, all those things, and then send him in. And it's so irritating because I'll go in and Matt will just be waiting, and then he'll like do a domination or whatever on him and just take it and and he'll be on his side, like he'll take over the guy or he'll take away all his buffs, and so it's so irritating.
I used to love that stuff. The troll
stuff.
Not
fun, unless I'm the one doing it to someone else.
Yeah, it's always good to be the troll.
Yes.
I remember. Sorry.
But probably the best unit before we fix this was there's a glyph that makes you buff your unit and they get slightly bigger. And there was a time where we didn't have a stack on those, so you could just make a unit bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And in all the play tests, we were all doing that because it was the funniest thing. To have a giant little man is now this giant thing flipping through the world, walking around.
Yeah, we eventually made it so you can only put one of each type of buff or debuff on the same unit, which is still plenty of options, but keeps things from getting completely out of control.
It's funny though how like buffing up units, at least for me, like I feel an attachment to them.
Once you do that.
Yeah, it's like they're my Pokemon, or there's something like I'm caring for them. They're special.
Well, it was always meant that the buffs would be in some ways part of your unit design. That like I know one of the criticisms we got sometimes on PC was that like, well, there are only like a dozen and a half unit types or something like that, and that's kind of true, but that's also misleading because, well, like which ones are the ones that you put strength buffs on, which ones are the ones that you put heals on. Like it's sort of like that research choice in a traditional game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to make careful choices about, and everyone's going to make different choices about which things want to have, which enhancements or which buildings to support them and things like that. So there's a lot more depth there than you can maybe see when you're just reading the descriptions or looking at the art of units.
It's true.
No, so that's in terms of because I remember you just mentioned about Magic there. Did you guys play any kind of TCG games? Were you inspired by any of the paper ones, or?
I don't think we really like used playing them as a guide, but certainly I mean some the core like counterplay type mechanics were based on that. Like that's why you can play things anywhere your units have vision, so that you can have that kind of rapid counterplay of I played this, no, now you played this. Like the best sequences in the game, honestly, in multiplayer are when both sides just like you'll have a situation where two scouts like run into each other, and then within 20 seconds there's a giant army on both sides and fireballs and things because you both just take that advantage to try to push it. And I think that's what makes this game unique.
Mm-hmm. An escalating gameplay, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We read our press releases.
Fair play. Sorry, I'm getting a bombardment of messages at the moment. I keep forgetting that you guys, just for people viewing on Twitch, the dev team can't see me, but I know Twitch can see me, so I'm kind of nodding towards you guys, but then I realise that you can't actually see what I'm doing. But yeah, don't worry, I'm not like sitting here reading a book. Okay, so we've had a couple of questions just come in. Are there any card ideas you would like to try to add if you were to make an expansion? That's from the Cian Darko. Sorry. Oh, Sean Darko. There we go. That's what his name is.
Something that got cut from the original design of the game was I would have liked to have done some like hand manipulation stuff, like stuff where someone has like a fireball in their hand or something, and you can do something to make it go away or be taken from their hand into your hand. You do a little bit of that in the game as now with stuff that's on the field. Like there's a building that if a unit dies within its range, you get a copy of it, which happens even if it's the enemy's unit. But I would have liked to do some more things where like you're interacting with a player a little bit more directly than just the strategy, but it was just too complicated and we didn't have time to do it. But it certainly would be an area I would want to explore if we were doing expansion content.
Yeah, it definitely that kind of thing definitely adds another dimension to how you have to think about your moves and the gameplay if people can screw with your hand.
It's something that I think would add depth, but it's given that the primary interface of the game is a strategy game, we'd have to come up with some clever method for you to understand that what's happening to you.
Yeah.
Like even with stuff that adds glyphs to your hand, every once in a while you're like, hey, where did this come from? And it's fine because you got something, but it's a little different when someone's taking something away from you. Then it's not fine if you don't know where it came from.
Yeah, for sure. We've also got another question from Stealthy Twitchy. How long did it take to develop the original PC version of the game, from the inception of the idea to the full release on Steam?
I think it was about 3 years total, give or take. So for the first year or so, Rob and I were working sort of like half-time while we worked at other companies to, have money. So it's kind of hard to gauge the exact amount of time, but there's about a year, and then Josh and Dalvin came on, and that was a year and a half-ish. So, yeah, 2.5 to 3 years, thereabouts.
Cool. Were there any specific challenges that kind of made anything take longer, or was it just generally that was kind of the average pace?
Everything took longer. That's how it always is in development. I guess the thing that was most, I got reorganized, I guess, was like the single player content. Originally, we were going to do less of it and more spaced out. But especially since initially the people, we did early access on PC, and obviously there weren't a huge amount of players to start with, but the people that were there were mostly playing the single player stuff. Even then, it was mostly just bot matches. They're like, where's the rest of the single player stuff? And we're like, well, it's coming. But eventually we were just like, okay, we'll just make it. We just need to get that done.
Yeah, I think probably some of the biggest challenges from the creative side is really just like our own desire to make things look as good as possible. We really pushed ourselves to the max, with what we could do, and to try and get the kind of fidelity that we hoped for, and that we wanted, the story we wanted to tell, and the kind of experience we wanted to give players. But it's hard. I remember, some of the stuff is just why are we doing this? This is so hard.
Yeah,
but
you increase the scope because you like what you're making. You want to
Yeah.
get better. So,
but then we did it.
yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
We got nice, almost AAA quality cinematics with 4 people, mostly 2 people, because I didn't do any of that.
It's pretty. Yeah. I think we're very proud of what we were able to do, and but it was. It was not easy.
It wasn't easy.
It was a hard road to travel.
It was, but like I said, we put it on ourselves.
Yeah. However many people end up playing it for the console version, I'm still glad to play it, and glad that we made it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. While we're on difficult questions, Old Man Sam from Discord has asked, you published the game on PC yourselves. Was there any reason you chose to go with an external publisher when it came to the console release?
I suck at marketing. It's almost that simple.
Oh, okay.
That's what I learned, because we tried really hard on trying to do marketing for the PC release, and we went to PAX East and got all that set up, and it was a great experience. But we just had no idea what we were doing. And we got some coverage, but not really the right coverage. And we got duped a couple times by Twitch scammers and stuff like that. And it's just all glad to have people for that this time.
Oh no, fair enough.
Looking forward to Digerati making it a smash success.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Sure hope so.
Okay, what else have I got here? Sorry, I'm just quickly... Stealthy Twitchy has just commented how impressed with the presentation quality of the game given the size of the team. I think that is the thing when you... I know this obviously doesn't really relate to the console release as it hasn't come out yet, but when you play a game you don't really think about how many people made the game. It's kind of like, Golem Gates, I enjoyed that. But yeah, no, it is crazy how well you guys have done with such a small team. It is insane. So, tip of the beanie to you guys. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions left. So for anyone watching, if you do have any more questions, please do get them in soon, or you will miss out.
Yeah, you got to give some games away.
Yeah, we do. Have any of these questions kind of stood out? Or which ones can you kind of are in the back of your mind still?
So the usernames had.
The donut guy.
Yeah, Frisky Donut.
Frisky Donut's got to
Or
get
Mr.
something.
Nut, as we'll call him.
Wait,
Cool.
wasn't it like Dragon Nuts or something?
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to use first basis on that one.
Tried. First name tried.
Yeah, first name tried, last name Nut.
Oh, he's still watching. He's saying,
Oh,
"Whoa."
embarrassed.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure to get a key sent over to you, Frisky. If anything, just for the usernames. And he saes he loves you guys.
And it was all worth it.
Now you're first name basis.
Welcome, Brian.
Sean Darko has just asked, in most TCGs, as they put, sorry, I'll actually read this before I read it out loud and completely butcher it. Okay, so in most TCGs, as they progress and get support over the years, it's only a matter of time till older cards become problematic due to them not accounting for the new card design. Do you think it's better to ban cards or ban interactions between certain cards that would cause the abuse? I'm not sure if this is within the context of glyphs within the game or just kind of a general TCG question.
Well, I mean, since we're a PC game, I've always been, or console game, I've always been digital game. I've always been of the impression, I've always been of the feeling that you have the capability to change them, so you should. I understand that, in some games like Valve's one Artifact, like when the things suddenly start having value, then you have a little bit of a weird proposition with changing things that people paid money for. But our game, you don't have to pay for cards that way or glyphs. So if it's overpowered, we're just going to change it. If the interaction doesn't work, we're just going to change it. I don't have any problem with that. I don't feel any need to leave things as they are or have weird ban rules or anything like that. I'm going to just make it so that everything works. I do tend to have a balancing philosophy that everything does not need to be viable everywhere, but everything needs to have its place. So there might be some glyphs that are like, well, I mostly only want to use this in survival, or I mostly only want to use this in 2 versus 2. There's actually a glyph or two that have been more designed for a co-op type thing, and it has some effect if you're playing by yourself, but it's probably not the most value. And so that's tends to be how we would see that kind of thing. We'll just make changes if we need to.
No, awesome. I'd much prefer that idea. I know, because I've played a lot of Hearthstone, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And various card games, and it is a big sucker punch when you've paid money for the things to have them banned or changed, whereas when it is kind of the complete package, it makes sense to make sure everything's kind of running smoothly, so there's nothing too overpowered.
I'd just like to comment on how Dalvin has a cool Harbinger staring at him. Matt has Tetra, and I just have like a crotch right here in the background.
Who set up the room, Josh?
Yeah, but I was supposed to sit somewhere else, not here.
To be fair, I hadn't even noticed that. I think your head, typically when you're sitting forward slightly, your head is covering the crotch. So,
Okay,
yeah, there you go. That works.
I'm sure the internet noticed.
No, the art is awesome. Have you got kind of a lot of stuff? Is that all from trade shows and stuff, or
these are all made for PAX, I believe.
Ah, okay, cool.
We had a booth which I thought was a pretty nice setup, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience. I'm not sure how much it actually turned into sales, but it was worth doing just to be in that environment with a bunch of other people who also made games of various sizes in similar situations. It was a super fun experience.
Yeah, and we definitely made some fans, and we were very generous with the keys, and people were getting friends and coming over, and hey, you got to check out this game. And there were a couple of people. There's at least one guy I remember. He came back a couple times every day, right?
Yeah.
he played Dalvin and beat him.
You gotta bring this out.
He beat Dalvin. What can you do?
No, that sounds cool. I've always wanted to go to the PAX ones. I've been to like Gamescom and the UK shows, but I've never been to the States for any of them personally.
Cool.
Frisky Donuts is complaining that we haven't put a age restriction on this stream, and has combined the crotch with your head into a very lewd comment about what we are producing here. So yeah,
I think Frisky Donut's the one complaining about age restrictions.
Yeah. Ooh, he's calling shit adjust his username if that's his concern.
Yeah, it's pretty rich coming from Super Dry Nuts and Frisky Donuts.
I've adjusted to cover things, by the way.
Moving on.
Moving on very swiftly. I think there's only one more question. I'm just quickly scrolling through to make sure I haven't missed anything out. So were there any specific enemies or challenges within the game that shine as your favourites to tackle within kind of the campaign mode? Obviously without spoilers, if that's possible.
Well, relatively early in the challenge mode, which is sort of like a list of scenarios, basically, sort of like event mode in Smash Brothers is sort of always designed to be similar to. But there's one where there's an invincible, like really giant golem guy, like just a big metal dude, and you have to go around and capture a whole bunch of points and hold them while he's punching your guys to death, and occasionally teleporting across the map to punch them some more. And that was fun to do, and I think it's pretty fun to play. Also, it requires some unique strategy and some AI manipulation to win.
And it's unique in the sense that we made an exception where you had to play as a bad guy in that mode, so the character you're playing as is a villain.
Oh, cool. Are there any for you, Josh? Or
yeah, I don't know that it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier with like, why are we doing this? This is so difficult, but like I remember the second to last level. Actually, there were two.
Bring it up. What did that? I mean, is it a spoiler? Or,
is it a spoiler?
The last two levels were ridiculous. We decided.
Yeah, the last two levels really, and the after.
Well, you can say that there's level geometry modification. Like there's terrain shifting.
The map changes throughout phases and rounds and stuff, and
we're just like
2 weeks left.
We were just crunched so hard. We're like, but we wanted it to be climactic and wanted it to feel like.
I wasn't the best to optimize on console.
I'm sorry, but it feels different and really cool, and like I thought it was how we did it. Like, wow, that's
my favorite song was probably that one.
Yeah. So it was. There were a couple of things that were just like, should we go for this? All right, let's do it. And somehow we did it, and it's like, this is unbelievable. This happened. So I guess from a dev point of view. And also, I guess from in the game, that's probably my favorite level. It's just I can't believe it worked. Like, and it's also a testament to some of the stuff Matt did with pathfinding, like other things, like how units are able to find their way through moving things, and it's cool. It works. So
awesome. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. One quick question to tag on to the end, actually, just from me, is how long would an average playthrough be of the single player from your perspective, or how long would you expect it to take someone?
Well, of just the campaign, or
yes. All break it down into the different game modes.
So I would think that campaign for most players would probably be 6 to 8 hours, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge mode would probably be that plus a little more, and then survival. There's like 5 maps. Mm-hmm. Well, there's also a randomly generated map, so that you could play that for
infinity.
You want. Yeah. But after playing the campaign and the trials mode, if you wanted to consider like unlocking all of the cards as done, then it'd probably be another 5-6 hours. So it's meant to be like 20 to 30 hours is unlocks all the functionality, and then you can make new decks or grind cosmetic upgrades or whatever.
But of course, you didn't mention multiplayer, but there's multiplayer too. Plug in bots, but yeah.
Infinity, what was that? It's
Infinite.
Never ends.
Keep playing the game. Never stop.
Buy as well.
Once you complete it, buy it again.
Hey, there's 3 consoles releasing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Wow.
Stealthy Twitchies just messaged in saying thank you for making a really cool game. And sorry. Oh wow, okay, that's a nice message. I was just reading that through to confirm. Sean Darko's just said that he only just found out about the game due to it appearing in a PlayStation State of Play. So pairing with the publishers working. So that's good to know.
Awesome. That's good. I didn't hear that.
And he also says the game looks really, really good, and he's looking forward to playing it. So
Cool.
yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll kind of, if you guys are interested in Golem Gates, which I'll assume you are at this point, and hope you are. It's a great game. It's coming out on the 28th of May on PlayStation 4. It'll be the day after in Europe because we have to wait for these things. And then it's coming out on Friday the 31st on Nintendo Switch and Xbox. So it's literally going to be out on all consoles and PC. So no matter your poison, you will be able to play Golem Gates at the end of next week. So make sure you pick up a copy. And if you do, please do join our Discord or tweet us on social. Tweet Laser Guided Games guys and just kind of let them know what you think of it. And yeah. Do you guys want to kind of finish with anything or?
No, I mean, thanks for watching. Hope everyone enjoys the game.
Yep, it has awesome soundtrack too.
That's true.
Awesome. So make sure you play it with headphones and turn it
Right.
on nice and loud.
Right before you go to bed, ASMR.
ASMR, yeah, it'll gently soothe you to sleep. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's much appreciated. It's been great, and thank you everyone who's joined and viewed along. And yeah, if you guys want to see some gameplay of the Xbox version, Xbox Alive will be doing a live stream in 10 minutes time of some. I think it's going to be the first look of the game on Xbox public. So make sure you can tag on there and have a look at the game. And yeah, thank you all for joining. I'll spam the link for the next one in the chat shortly. So yeah, take care, guys.
Cool.
See ya.